Margaret awoke, startled, a cold sweat clinging to her. She gathered her thoughts. Aged wood creaked, echoing through the quiet rooms. Near the house stood a shrine to Rhea Dana, goddess and daughter of the land, of Rhea and a being of comfort. Margaret sought answers. But the goddess did not speak. There was only the faint whisper of something dark, something hungry. The old seer's bones felt the weight of their age as she climbed. The only thought on her mind, has it begun again? John's mission would be a simple one. He was to investigate Rhea's greatest shrine. His mother presented him with a fresh divinity shard. From his brother came a newly sharpened sword. His wife gave him a kiss, and his daughter's hugs were full of reason to return home safe. Rhea, a land long forgotten, a place of unimaginable beauty. It first appeared as sludge given life, slithering creatures, small and vile. impeding further progress. A battle was certain. Banished by light itself, the corruption abated, leaving the shard cold in hand, dark, in need of life. The shard grew warm, humming softly from the harnessed energy. Before him was now one more dangerous than those that came before. Inherently violent and ill-bathed, the goblins were an unfocused but constant threat. Magnificent but dangerous, a land of love found and of love lost. Before him was sacred ground, left untouched in days gone by. Remaining calm and collected, the shock of his heart-skipping beats was concealed in expert fashion. Before him stood Linda, his eldest daughter, with bow and quiver at the ready, determined to do her part. Before the Guardians were not beasts feeding, but monsters consuming, destroying others. They corrupted and distorted, creating even more hungry husks. The ancient tree had been cut down. Together, father and daughter described the horror, the creatures dripping with decay that slithered into bodies stuck between life and death to bolster their ranks. Grandma Margaret confirmed what they all feared. It was the corruption, a cruel entity spoken of only with hushed voices, an ocean of darkness that flowed from the top of Mount Morta. And the Bergsons' duty was to stand against this devouring deluge of death. Kevin was also eager to do his part in the family's fight, especially when his older brother Mark was off somewhere. He was as much a guardian of their mountain home as any of them. She stood. If they were to reach the summit and destroy this evil, as the Bergsons of old had done in the past, they would need the assistance of the sanctuary. Given to the Bergsons by Rhea herself, the sanctuary was a gateway to the mysterious lands around the mountain. Margaret pointed to the huge crystal at the center of the den, revealing their next task: to activate it and open the way to the source of the corruption. And once Rhea's 3 spirits are gathered on the grounds, the only gate to the top of Mount Morta will open in this chamber. By himself, or with the assistance of those who loved him, John needed to gather the 3 spirits from their lands. Without them, he would not be able to stem the flow of the corruption.
Halls of Anaiadaya must be here, for she needs to be found.
A celestial shard chipped directly from the ancient crystal in the sanctuary. It would be the Bergsons' lifeline, a tether to pull them back home before death's fateful whisper. Filling the winding tunnels of the silk-covered caves, the acrid taste of poison lingered in the air. Spiders. Linda told herself it was only target practice. As she readied her bow, they must find the spirit deep within the caves. Energy flowed around the room. Before the hero, an object of the divine. Love, truly a divine emotion, especially during dark days. Love had motivated this mother to lay down her life for her cub. love now compelled the young one to try and rouse her from eternal slumber. And it would be love welcoming the new orphan among the Bergsons. All 8 eyes studied the one so willing to walk into their own tomb. Howled in anguish as death slowly beckoned to bestow its peace. A way had opened, a step closer to the spirit at the heart of the caves. Though before taking that step, caution dictated a return to home to inform the family of the newfound passage. They gasped for air as the celestial shard brought them back, a sensation no hero could become accustomed to. Worried for the missing boy, Ben thought that maybe he should have hidden the daggers better. Margaret, in her wisdom, knew that nothing would have remained hidden from Kevin forever. Now she only encouraged her son and his daughter to hurry and find him. Kevin returned from his saga with barely a scratch, yet he found no appreciation from his family, especially his father. Despite having Linda on his side, his father was still mad at him for endangering himself and worrying them all, including his pregnant mother. His favorite line, asking how he could be so inconsiderate. He wondered whether Uncle Ben would understand his bravery and initiative better. With his heroic act unrecognized, the young boy waited, frustrated, expecting more punishment. What Kevin had not expected was his parents' reaction. Heartened by his courage, his father was going to teach him the ways of battle, and his mother was far from the frail and always worried housewife she had seemed. A Bergson through and through, she gave him her blessing and asked only that he temper his courage with caution. Perhaps Uncle Ben was the happiest of them all. Not only had his nephew held his own in combat, but had done so with the weapons he had made for him. Kevin only wished his older brother Mark was there to witness his rise to the family calling. Defeated, the Spider King had been removed from the path leading to the halls of Anaadiah, although the pestering of greedy goblins might still prove dangerous along the way. Uncle Ben was pointing out possible routes forward, speaking of the troubles pilgrims had run into in the lost trenches. Although in the safety of the Bergsons' house, the young cub was not yet free from danger. Exhaustion racked the animal's body, its chest heaving for even the smallest of breaths. The family believed several plants found deep in the nearby caves, combined together, could serve to remedy the situation.
These trenches were the path to the halls of Anaadiah.
Not all in the caves were refugees. Some were just traveling merchants stuck in the vine. The strange-looking shopkeeper dusted off his clothes and tipped his hat. He invited them to stop by his shop later, promising something for all adventuring needs. The further their quest proceeded, the more dangers there were to face. Even the dead had no claim to peace anymore. The generis mushroom was vital to any concoction with the purpose of healing. While naturally poisonous, any skilled brewmaker could extract the important properties without danger. What strange thing could have dragged Grandmother this far? The will of Rhea will flow in those still obelisks to aid the Guardians. This was the only thing Margaret silently whispered, and the Bergson had to return home in order to understand what had occurred. "Welcome, friend," the shopkeeper greeted. "Don't mind the occasional bloodstain on the merchandise." There could not have been a more perfect description of this group than its name, cave worm. Rather bland to the taste, still edible and full of nutrients. The creature that now threatened the hero was a crudely focused inferno of hatred and malice. If one raging beast was not enough, surely two were. gasping breath, the second beast became motionless. The poor creatures, twisted by the corruption, were finally able to rest. The path to be cleared of the corruption, and the jewel of life to be restored, the realm of Dia, mother of beasts and the goddess of waters. Before embarking for the spirit halls, however, the family must be informed of the newly opened passage. While painful for a mother to see her son in sickness, was still better than missing him for so long. Mary knew that she would make caring for Mark her mission. Mark had to warn them about the dangers approaching, despite how difficult it was to talk. He started naming the villages that were evacuated, or worse, taken over by the corruption, but soon succumbed to fatigue and fell asleep. Mary recalled hearing of an herbalist in Caldipo Caves that would have the yarrow at hand needed to treat Mark. The Bergsons would once again need to brave the treacherous caves in search of the herbalist. The goblin siblings lay dead, and the pilgrims were now safer in their caves. But the last step remained to be taken. The warriors knew only that somewhere in the expanse of the caves was the ancient halls of the spirit who would reveal new truths to them. Mark was out of the woods now, his fever gone. He was almost up and about. "Welcome back, brother," said Kevin. He had avoided conflict over the years, living in harmony with nature, but as Uncle Ben was fond of saying, a Bergson would forget how to walk before they forget how to fight. Of the Caldipo Caves. For a spirit to leave her domain, though, was no simple task. Everyone was encouraged to take part in a game of destiny. A prize awaited the fortuitous, but there was only pain for the unfortunate. In front of the hero, an object of divine energies. Bergson's hair stood on end from the ominous sounds of the unholy ritual. Whatever it was, would not be a happy affair.
monstrous creature shouldn't keep me from finding the cure for the little cub, the Bergson thought.
One fungus bulb harvested, not the most pleasant of smells, but would give bite and power to any remedy. Hold on just a little longer, young cub. Wherever there was a secret, knowledge was to be gained in reward. And wherever there was a reward, danger lurked. The cipher was important enough that it brought Grandma here. Here's to being lucky, Grandma exclaimed with her unique sense of humor. Welcome, friend, the shopkeeper greeted. Don't mind the occasional bloodstain on the merchandise.
Mother of beasts and goddess of anguish, a protector, a being of stone made living. Finally free of the corruption's hold, Aeneadaia gazed upon the Bergson, her emerald eyes weary with exhaustion. The spirit's words took life, forming images to reveal what was hidden from the Bergsons. And us, spirits three, knelt before the mountain god U to swear fealty. Our wills were set on peace. His was set on testing ours. And as the test drew to a close, we discovered our wretched ending. As the mountain god exacted vengeance on the children of Rhea Dana and tainted Rhea with the corruption. Thus was another truth revealed to the Bergson, but many more were hidden still. Questions were abundant in the Bergsons' minds. If the mountain god was the source of the corruption, what had made him wreak such havoc? How had no one known about him before? They needed to find the next spirit, as maybe they had an answer to some of their questions. More truths awaited them in the land of the winds. And now the Fire Child was ready.
As if night had become day, the cub showed no signs of its past struggles, with Lucy and he now simply dancing the day away. If the little wolf cub was to stay, it would need a room and bed of its own. All too happy to build it, Ben only required some wood and nails from nearby.
Nai Raha, the spirit of fealty, awaited the Bergsons somewhere in Berahat. Next portal, take the warriors there.
Once a lively place of merchants was now only a back alley of broken promises and death. Deep in the city of thieves, the path to Anai Raha's halls awaited. Dizzy, nauseated, feverish, the Bergsons' mind unsettled from the incremental rise of the corruption. No longer were even they immune to its ill effects.
A table fit for the gods, but a game made for mortals. A hand was to be placed upon the pedestal, and their best was to be given. Two people, one old and one young, surely did not belong in the clearing of windswept sand. The older was nervous, looked at his surroundings as if for the first time. But an air of wisdom still lingered around him. They were on the run and in search of one more able-bodied than themselves, for a monstrous and savage creature had begun to dwell near the observatory. "The skies," he said, "the skies hold the secrets of the gods." Steam. It was perhaps more powerful than a horse, but it was nowhere near as reliable. The creature that now threatened the hero was a crudely focused inferno of hatred and malice. With the observatory now safe from the belligerent beast, the two were once again free to observe the heavens. The manipulator of the disenfranchised, the leader of rats, with fingers sharp as daggers and a soul lacking its humanity. Truth was, no one chooses the life of a thief. The crystal was calling the hero back, through a path opened anew from the sacred city of Anai Raha, the spirit of wind and weather. Bergson felt a strange weariness as home beckoned. The chamber groaned and trembled, darkness replacing light. Above, the family waited to eat, comfort replacing vigilance. Snatched, gone. Dread replacing happiness. One body was taken, but two souls were in need of rescue. The chamber groaned and trembled, darkness replacing light. Above,
The family waited to eat, comfort replacing vigilance. Snatched, gone, dread replacing happiness. One body was taken, but two souls were in need of rescue. The forest was dense and full of dangers, but finding Mary was the most important thing now. Somewhere out there, surrounded by the darkness, Mary and her unborn child lay in need. The Bergsons would find them. It seized the lesser creature and took it into itself. Move, the Guardian thought, for there was no time to waste. The forest grew quiet again, but the respite from danger was only temporary.
land was scarred. Readaina's shrine, the catalyst to all that had happened, was no doubt nearby. There they were. The creature roared, but flight was no longer on the hero's mind. The Bergson now stood their ground, ready to take action. The Bergson began to slip away, wondering if this was death. Was warmer than they expected. Disbelief was not a strong enough word, and denial was not a luxury they could afford. They knew all too well that Grandma Margaret was gone. A hero may fade, but they never disappear. Their actions left to echo through an eternity, carried by those lives they touched. No one could believe that Grandma Margaret had passed away. The Bergsons shed their tears, hearts filled with sorrow. Ben and John were shocked to their core. The letter left by their mother spoke of a terrible secret, the one way to stop the corruption. The only way, she claimed, was to sacrifice their soon-to-be-born child to the god of Mount Morta. It was unthinkable. Perhaps their mother had made a mistake, had somehow misinterpreted the signs and ciphers. John thought they should keep the letter a secret for now. Sometimes, just as you are getting ready to leave, someone arrives and you stay for them forever. Sheila's ring drew Ben's attention. The same ring that Sheila had always said belonged to her firstborn. This man was their son? Ben could not stop staring into Joey's eyes, the eyes that he had gotten from Sheila.
When Joey informed his father of the many years since his mother's passing, Ben's heart felt cold. In that single moment, with the single gulp he drank, the memory of all the years with her passed through his mind. Regret became his companion then. It was not the warmth of the drink, but his son's touch that brought him out of the coldness within. Sheila was dead, but their son was here. Nostalgia of days lost mixed with dreams of days to come. He felt as if he was there when Joey had been born, when he had grown up and become the man he was now. Ben had already lost his wife, but that was in the past. And this was the future. A future they had to build now, together. To fight alongside the other Bergsons to clear a road to that future. Still mourning the loss of their grandma, they had to continue their mission. 2 more spirits of Rhea needed to be freed and brought to the safety of their home. John thought they should be able to find the temple that housed Anairaha, the spirit of the winds, somewhere in the city of Barahat. Maybe he could shed some more light on the nature of the corruption and the mountain god. A colossal monument built to the ruler of Barahat, and the voice of Anairaha, Bushra herself. A twisted prison of hate and decadence. Treasure rested above them, locked behind chance and memory. They needed to place foot upon stone. If silence reigned, they could continue on. But if alarms were to ring, they had to begin anew.
explained that yesterday's secrets, and even tomorrow's legends, can be found written in the stars. Unfortunately, an eyeglass broken in yesterday's haste would not allow vision into tomorrow's unknown. The sage looked upon the Bergson for help. The nearby mines could luckily supply the materials needed to craft a new lens. All the young boy would need was someone to watch over him while he gathered them. Summoners in a circle. Surely nothing would come from it. A greater enemy, but also a greater reward. The old man explained that yesterday's secrets, and even tomorrow's legends, can be found written in the stars. Four steps were to be taken in the correct order.
Raha, the god of the free wind, now tethered to the ground. His voice to the people is now just the warden of his prison. The air touched him, filling him and ruffling his feathers. He looked upon the Bergson, small and fragile, but so full of hope. Infectious hope. Perhaps this would be the last time. The spirit's words took life, forming images to reveal what was hidden from the Bergsons. And so it was their fate to do battle. The children of Rhea Dana, on the cusp of victory, would find their world overrun with the corrupted, drowning them. And when they could fight no more, they would bow to U's demand. But there was no salvation in fighting his corruption. By giving a heart-wrenching sacrifice, they would stay the gods' thirst for mere centuries. Another truth revealed to the Bergsons, but there was still more hidden. The children of Rhea Dana, the Bergsons' destiny, and how much of it Grandma had found out before her demise, were the subject of much speculation among the family. Speculation without certainty. When Linda told them about Mary's deterioration, they knew they had to do something to prevent another catastrophe. Mark tried to help with his knowledge of herbs,
He knew that somewhere around Berahut was a tree, and an extract of its seeds might help stop Mary's chills and fever. But Berahut had surrendered to the corruption, and not even the trees were safe from it. The flying creature they were seeing in the sky filled Lucy with excitement. Could it be a dragon? However, Kevin had heard Mark say that there were no dragons left on Rhea, and he told Lucy the same. It wasn't hard for Uncle Ben to guess that this strange woman was from the far north. The Bergsons were curious to know her reason for making such a long and arduous trip down south. The details Apon knew about fighting the corruption surprised the family and stirred more than a little respect for her. Yet more surprising was the fact that the wife of a tribe chief would take unto herself to journey south and give aid to the Bergsons. Apon joining in with the Bergsons would help them in their quest. Moreover, Mark could learn a thing or two from her in the art of combat. Was still evident through the decay brought on by time and sand. But once humble living quarters were now slums, the muck of the corruption. Can the body endure the mind's gamble? The tree of prosperity was withered after twisting away from Rhea's will. Spirit cracked as bark splintered and left behind the seed that the Bergsons were looking for. No time to waste. Mary was waiting. A sip of the potion was enough for Mary to open her eyes and for John to exhale with relief. Unbidden, pain shot up Mary's spine and filled her eyes. Something other than her illness. The baby was coming. It was time. The air was suddenly still. Mary's sickness had made them forget that the ravenous mountain god was after their baby. Curses. The Black Altar had come alive with an ominous will. Even Rhea's light couldn't keep it at bay, couldn't delay the evil of the sacrifice forced upon them. When John held her for the very first time, she was crying the song of life. Life was all that went through her father's mind. How he wished that he could give his own life instead of his baby's. But his life was worthless to the cruel god. Mary burst into tears. She feared that John was going to give up their baby to save the world, a world that at this moment was worth nothing at all to her. What chance did the Bergsons have against this monstrous cruelty of an immortal god? What a rotten fate that had doomed them to this destiny. How could John accept this heinous cycle of looming apocalypse and child sacrifice? His whole body shook from the conflict inside him. Every glance from his family was like a mortal wound to his heart. Would they let hope die this day? This could not be the end. No.
Grandma had already sacrificed herself for them. There would be no more sacrifices. Together, they were going to break that cycle and defeat unjust fate. And the look in their eyes became one of resolve. For life, for hope.